Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for joining this session. Thanks for your time. Let me quickly start my prayer. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmittimena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishta Bhutale Srimate Gopal Krishna Goswami Nitya Namne Prabhupada Sahitam Prashvitire Chapsam Kutana Sadhu Bhavat Padaya Te Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishta Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitya Namne Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nirvishesha Shunivadi Pashathe Deshudarni. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद सदैव गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे. Okay, we will get started. I think I'm planning to wrap up this third chapter, Karma Yoga, today. So far, let me quickly recap what we have studied. If you're able to see this screen, Arjuna initially got confused. Why do you want me to fight? He was asking that question to Krishna. And Krishna started explaining there are two types of yoga, Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. And Krishna advised Arjuna to do the Karma Yoga. He has to do his duty, prescribed duty, to set an example. And Krishna also advised Arjuna, you cannot pretend, you cannot just escape the battlefield, and go to, somewhere. So he was telling Arjuna that he cannot go to the forest, then you'll be like a pretender, because his swabha is Kshatriya, to fight and to protect the people and to administer the kingdom. And then Krishna talked about, how one has to work without attachment, offer the results to Krishna. And then Krishna talked about, if people do not offer the results to Krishna, if people still have desires, at least they should have consideration to the other devatas and offer them, before they, offer to other devatas. And because we have a universal government, there should be some cooperation. So he was talking about that, because he also talked about cycle of sacrifices, how the other devatas, help us to get rain. And we have sunshine, we have moonshine, we have Agni Deva, we have Vayu Deva. Everybody is working. It is like a universal government affair, cosmic collaboration. And he says that everyone has to work in collaboration. And then Krishna talked about, even after this, even if you become a self-realized soul, don't think that you can give up your work. You should still work with the detachment. And he talked about kings like Janaka Maharaja and even himself, Krishna, engaged in work to set an example so that common people can follow, because nowadays we see, right, a lot of influencers in Instagram, in other channels, right? People follow communities in WhatsApp. There are a lot of influencers in YouTube, right? In those days, Krishna says, you set an example. We don't know whether the current day influencers set an example, but Krishna always wanted, Arjuna to set an example so that the common people will follow. Okay. And then he also talked about, compared and contrasted the people who work with attachment and people who work without attachment. He wants Arjuna to work without attachment, like the people who work with attachment. You work in a similar way, but without attachment, so that you'll be able to focus very well and you'll be able to execute your duty. If you work with attachment, it will always create anxiety and distress. So working, and then Krishna elevated a more. He talked about working for Krishna, right? He said, just my sarvani karmani. You work for me. You offer the results to me, and when you work, you think of me. and you don't have the false sense of proprietorship, false sense of ownership, without any desire. You just work. That is the purpose of your Bhagavad Gita that we said, right? That we discussed previously. And then Krishna also mentioned what will happen if one does not work that way, right? If one does not follow what Krishna says, they will get their life ruined. And then if one follows Krishna's instructions, Krishna says that they can overcome this samsara, overcome this bondage of birth and death cycle. Because if you ask even anybody, anybody in this world, including Elon Musk or Bill Gates or anybody, right? On the outlook, they may be very wealthy, but the happiness and distress for everyone will always be there. Because of the Maya making us to think that this material happiness is a true happiness, but in fact, we cannot derive true happiness from the material standpoint. That is how it has been designed. It is like a prison house. Prison house, somebody will have a iron shackle, right? Somebody will have a silver shackles, and somebody will have a golden shackle. That is the only difference. But everybody is more like in a prison house. Only thing is we have to get ourselves reformed. We have to get ourselves out of the prison by following our scriptures and following what Krishna says, following what our sadhu shastra says. So here Krishna said, now if you just follow what I said, just thinking of me, just what offer the results to me, and without any ownership, without any desires and attachment, and if you have in a set of Krishna consciousness, right, you will come to me. That is what Krishna's assurance. And then the question arises, Arjuna asks, so okay, Krishna, it makes sense, it makes sense, and whatever you say makes sense. But in spite of that, why people do not follow it? Why people still commit sins? Why people do not follow the laws? He was having the question. That's what we left last, we saw last week. And then Krishna said, hey Arjuna, it is because of the lust, and with lust and anger that makes them, violate everything, violate all the laws. It makes them, it covers that knowledge. And we saw three examples. One, lust covering, it's like a smoke covering this fire, which is easy, at least you can feel the heat, which is a medium layer. I think, let me show this. And then dust covering the mirror, and the embryo, the baby, is covered by the womb, which is very difficult to, the consciousness is so covered, right? Here, the smoke, dust, and womb are the level of covering on the consciousness. It is like an analogy or metaphor. So for someone whose consciousness is highly covered, whose knowledge is highly covered, they are not able to discriminate what is good or right, right? They are always in the lust mode, and they want everything, and they are always greedy. They are lust. That means their consciousness is highly covered, like a baby covered by a womb, right? So the degree of lust is increasing here, slight, medium, and intense. So this is like an analogy Krishna gives, and explaining, hey, Arjuna, you asked me why the people, in spite of knowing that something should not be done, but they are still doing it. They know that it will be punished. They know it is against the law, but still they are doing it. Why? It is because of the lust. And when it is not fulfilled, it turns into an anger. So this lust and anger are the topmost enemy for the living entity, for humans, right? So that's why Krishna says, we have to come out of this lust and anger. Lust, when the lust is subsidized, the anger will also get subsidized. And now this week, we will start with new shlokas. And Krishna gives us, some tips how to overcome the lust. Um, Let me start with okay. Indriyani. Sorry, can anyone wants to read this? Recite this sloka?
I can, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Indriyani mano buddhir
Indriyani manobuddhir
asya uchyate
asyadishtanam uchyate
एतैर् विमोह एतैर्विमोह यत्येष
एतैर् विमोहयत्येषा
ज्ञानमावृत्य देहिनम्.
jnanam avritya dehinam. The senses, the mind, and the intelligence are the sitting places of this lust. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him.
Okay. So now Krishna is helping us understand. Krishna previous loka he said, who is the uh, topmost enemy? Who is the greatest enemy of us? Greatest enemy of the humankind? He said lust, right? And now he is saying where these lusts are stored. So the lusts are stored in three places: the senses, the mind, and intelligence are the sitting places of the lust. So, in our body, right, it is said that the lust has captured these three positions or sitting places. Through them, the lust covers our real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders. So when the lust covers this real knowledge, discrimination, right, of our living entity, and living entity bewilders. He is in an illusion. He is deluded. He doesn't know what to do, what is right, what is wrong. So here, our Acharya has explained that Krishna is giving a hint of those places, um, and okay, living entity. Okay. Now let us move on, and Krishna will give us an a tips on how to overcome this lust, and of which, right, the senses. The Acharyas explain the senses are very vulnerable, right? As we discussed about, was one story. I think I don't know whether in this class or in any other classes. Now there was a lion which was chasing a fox. The fox was running very high and running very fastly, and it got into a hole. And then the fox's eyes are saying, I helped you a lot to find this hole. And then fox's legs said, I helped to run. And then the body said, I carried all the body parts. And the ear said, I was following the footprints of lion. And at some point in time, they were all looking at the tail, and the tail did not do anything. And they said, see, we all work together, but you are the one who did not help us. So you go to lion. And then the fox turned towards the entrance, showing the tail. And the lion just caught hold of the tail of the fox and pulled the entire fox. Likewise, the senses are very vulnerable. If any one of the senses are out of control, it will drag all the senses, it will drag the mind, it will drag this intelligence, everything, and it will lead a person to get ruined. So right, so, out of sight, out of mind. It is the best way they say. Yatra drishti, yatra manaha. Wherever you see, the mind goes there. It is very it is very difficult to control the senses. It is said. Um, okay. Now let us go to the other shloka. Now Krishna will give us some more tips. Okay. We will come to this. This is a very beautiful picture, depicts everything. Lust is like a fire is never satisfied with any amount of fuel. It simply grows as it is fed. The best way to stop lust is to stop feeding it and let it die. See, sometimes um, when there is a lust, right? We will think, okay, and let us satisfy it. And then what happens is when it gets satisfied, it wants more. It wants more and more. It becomes greedy. It get never stopped. It's like a homocount, right? In the fire, if you keep pouring the ghee, it'll never stop. Right? The best way to stop lust is to stop feeding it and let it die. In the seventh canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Prahlad Maharaj says the lust is more like a itching sensation. First when you get an itching sensation, we used to scratch, we feel good, and then it will pain, and then we get an impression of the past pleasure, and then we will scratch again, and then this is a vicious cycle. It goes on and on. Even if it is bleeding, you know, people tend to scratch it again and again. So it ultimately impacts our body, affects our body, but people do not understand that. So that is how the lust is like a itching sensation. Best thing is we have to stop scratching. We have to stop satisfying the lust. That's what Krishna will say in the next shlokas. The lusts have to be regulated. First of all, the senses have to be regulated. That's how we can control uh, the senses. So here, the Acharya has also explained the best way to stop satisfying the senses, instead of pouring ghee to a fire, the other way is if you pour enormous amount of ghee into the fire, more than the fire can take up, the fire will burn down. The fire um, will stop. But that is not the ideal way. Now, we see it in some instances. Sometimes the people will get over and over addicted and they get spoiled their life. And then at one point in time, they get more frustrated in life and everything. They said, okay, that's it. I'm going to leave these things. I'm going to change. You know, even, I heard a story in ISKCON London. There was one a British boy. He was drinking a lot. Over a period of time, he drank a lot and lot, and then sometimes he used to fall on the ground, and then one time he got very much frustrated. He wanted to leave it, and then he went to the temple. And then fortunately, there was some devotees who helped him to recover, and then he started staying in the temple. And then he started, getting up early in the morning, attended all the Mangal Arati and then chanting everything. Then his life got transformed, and he was giving an interview how he went into an extreme sense gratification, extreme drinking. And then at one point in time, he got so much frustrated. And at that moment, he found the temple and entered. And then he got his life transformed. So that is an extreme way. Nobody wants to go through that extreme way because people may not be very fortunate to have that association to change. Some people will get drastically, take a decision at that extreme point. But here, the point here is we should not add more fuel to the fire. We have to regulate our senses. Lusty intelligence influences the soul to acquire false ego and identify itself with the matter, the mind, and the senses. So the more lusty intelligence that we have, it makes us to think. The lusty intelligence will say, "Hey, let's plan for more sense gratification." And then we will be in the bodily concept. We want to get into the spiritual concept because as we read in the second chapter, the more we are in the bodily concept that this is my body, I am this body, I want to enjoy with this body, I want to satisfy everything. If you're in this bodily concept that is called as false ego, then become more conditioned. Okay. Now, so let us come to this. Um, this is a very famous picture that, it's also based on our Shastras. It is said that the five arses are like a senses, sense of taste, touching, smelling, hearing, and seeing. These are all the indriyas, right? These indriyas are are controlled by the manas, that is reins of the horses. Right here you see the reins. Okay. Are kept by the so these indriyas will constantly send messages to the mind. Okay, these all these things, right? It will send messages to the mind, and it will create the impressions. So if I've eaten gulab jamun in the past, it will have an impression in my mind, and next time when I see gulab jamun, I want to eat, right? So if somebody has has some quality, or some desire or less, if they see it again, they want to have the desire because of the past impression. Everything is stored in the mind, right? This this mind is between intelligence. So this intelligence plans for the mind. The intelligence says, okay, mind, I think you want to enjoy this, let us plan for it. So the intelligence also gets ruined, right? So that's how, people in general get ruined. They get all information from the senses, and it is stored in the mind, and then all the impressions are stored, and next time the mind, whenever it sees, anything, it wants to enjoy, and then the intelligence plans for that, right? And of all these atman, this pure consciousness, or the soul, spirit soul, it is it is never being consulted by intelligence or buddhi, or a mind, or manaha, or senses, or indriyam. So he is sitting there. So Krishna will say in the subsequent slokas, and how do we? This is a cycle. How do we handle this, right? So how do we handle this situation? The senses, impressions, and everything going into the mind. Mind is the center of all the activities, and the intelligence is you know is planning for the mind to enjoy those sense gratification. How do we control it? That's what Krishna will say in the next couple of shlokas. How to conquer lust? That's what he's going to say. Anybody wants to recite it after me?
Yes, Prabhuji, I can decide.
Thank you, Mother.
That's
तस्मात् त्वम् इन्द्रियान् यादौ
Tasmat tvam indriyani adau
नियम्य भरतर्षभ
niyamya bharatashabha
पापानं प्रजहिह्येनम्
papanam prajahi inam
ज्ञानविज्ञाननाशनम्.
jnana vijnana nasanam. Therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning, curb this great symbol of sin or lust by regulating the senses and slay this destroyer of knowledge and self realization. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. So Krishna now starts with the senses. He says, first regulate the senses. That is one. Uh, uh, so if you regulate the senses, you can you can conquer the lust. You can capture the lust, which is the destroyer of our knowledge. Jnana means knowledge, discrimination, right? Knowledge that we get from the Shastras, and the discrimination, whether it is right or wrong, right? And also knowledge of who we are, right? That is a knowledge. If we have a lust, we cannot experience that knowledge. Um, and also, it also destroys our process for self-realization. It will always block us. So there are two things in jnana. As I mentioned, it is to understand that we are not this body. And Vijnana means what is our constitutional position after understanding that we are not this body. What is our constitutional position? What is our relationship to the Lord? So these are the very important things in the life, you know, that we have to understand in this life. But with this lust, which is binding us, this lust making us, it is covering all our knowledge. That is the reason we are not able to experience ourself. We are not able to attain self-realization. But by following regulation of the senses, by following the scriptures, right, of what Krishna says, right, we can overcome the lust, and then we can work on attaining this jnana and vijnana. That is the first step. Krishna says, regulate the sense, which is the slayer of, destroyer of this knowledge and self-realization. What will happen is, we got this body because it is said there are around 8.4 million species of life in this Brahmandam, right? Out of which one gets to the form of human being, you know, after going through, from the aquatics, from the birds, beasts, and everything, then we come to this human form. But if we miss this chance, then we may have to go back to any other species based on our karma. And then, see, for example, if we in a factory, in an organization, if a person is given a job, if he does not use his job, if he does not meet the expectation, if he abuses it, right, he will be terminated. He will not be given that post again. Likewise, we have got this position as a human form, which is like a trampoline. You jump and jump, go to the Vaikunta. But if you misuse it, we'll go to the species form. Again, lower species, again, we have to start from the beginning and get to this human form. That's why the acharyas explain that, if you are still on the bodily platform and if you are in the under the influence of lust, we may not be able to achieve this jnana and vijnana, which is being covered by lust, and ultimately we have to, take birth in the lower species. But the acharyas also explains, Prabhupada explains, but how do we overcome it, right? So here we saw it. Krishna says, first control the senses. Why controlling the senses? Because the mind and buddhi uh, are very difficult to control. The senses is a gross one. We can see it, we can feel it. But mind and buddhi, we cannot see it or we cannot feel it. What we can see are these senses. At least it is gross. We can see them, and then we can control them. So slowly, the mind will get less and less an impression of the sense gratification over a period of time, right? And then, in the meanwhile, if you also uh, uh, increase our intelligence through studying the scriptures, through studying Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, through chanting, when we listen to the stories of Krishna, Nama, Rupa, form, Krishna's Nama, form, Rupa, Guna, Guna means quality, Leela, pastimes, and then through Shastras, our intelligence will increase. And then the mind will not have much impressions to act on the senses, and our intelligence is also strong, then we'll be in a very good position. That's what the acharyas explain, that, first control the senses. It is like, as I mentioned, out of sight, out of mind. If something will trigger us, it's better to not to go there. Right? Yeah. Okay. Now let us move on to. So one's senses are influenced by the lust when he feels attracted to pleasure and repulsed by pain. The senses send images of desirable and undesirable objects to the mind. Hence, control senses first. Krishna consciousness protects love from deteriorating into lust. So the Prabhupada also explains that whatever we experience the love towards or lust towards all these material objects is a perverted reflection of our original love towards the Lord. So when we were in a Vaikuntha planets previously, before coming here, we had a pure love towards Krishna. But after coming here, due to our material condition, it has become a lust. But when we revive our Krishna consciousness, when we use our senses for Krishna, right, this lust will be converted into love towards Krishna. That is the only way. Okay. And we have two more shlokas we will cover quickly. Anybody wants to recite this?
Yeah, Prabhuji, I'll recite after you.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji. Indriyani paran yahur.
Indriyani paran ahur.
Indriyebhyah param manah.
Indriye param manaha.
Manastastu para buddhir.
Manastaspara buddhir.
Yo buddhev paras. Yo buddhev paratas. Sorry. Yo buddhev paratastu saha.
Yo buddhir parastastu saha. The working senses are superior to dull matters. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than mind. And he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
So Krishna here is giving us a picture of the hierarchy: senses, mind, intelligence. So, okay, Krishna, yes, this is the senses are the material things. This is the lowest thing, but mind is superior to the senses. These are dull matter, and then intelligence is superior or higher than the mind, but the soul is still higher than the uh, intelligence. And if you are able to control our senses here, right, through regulations, right, this mind will be subdued. And if you read scriptures and like Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, those kind of thing will sharpen our intelligence. And if you do chanting, right, Hare Krishna mantra means manas trayate iti mantra. Manas trayate means deliver the mind from anxiety, stress, and everything, and deliver the mind from all sorts of anarthas, all sorts of impurities. It's called as mantra. So if you do mantra, everything, mind will get sharpened. Above all, right? Supreme Soul. Our acharyas explain that the soul is superior to the intelligence. When we connect our soul to the Supreme Soul through Krishna consciousness, through devotion to the Lord, right? Everything else will be subdued, everything will be under control. So, the intelligence, for example, um, um, when you do devotional service to the Lord, right? We use all the senses as well. We show Dhupa Deep. We offer garland to Krishna and the Tulasi garland to Krishna, and we smell it, and we offer food to Krishna, and offer bhoga to Krishna and eat them as a prasadam, and we see the form of the deity form of Radha and Krishna, right? And the senses automatically get subdued when we are in the Krishna consciousness. It is said, right? So when we see the Lord, right, our lust, our senses get subdued. That is the reason. And also, when you see the Abhishekams or the lordships, right? It says in the Shastras that it subdues our desires for sense gratification. So that's the reason. One thing is we have to go and see the Lord, have a darshan of the Lord. And it is also an opportunity, right, that we get the darshan of the Lord, and Lord also shows his darshan to us. And and the acharyas explain the Krishna consciousness is the best way where our soul connect to the supreme soul through devotional service. And when you do the devotional service in terms of chanting the holy name, and in terms of having Krishna in our mind, when we work, being Krishna consciousness, and using our intelligence, right, in service of Krishna, and we automatically get purified. Now it is said, I don't know whether I told you, there is a Maharaj called Ambarish Maharaj. He was a great king. Every day he used to go to the temple. He will clean the place, and you'll smell the flowers, and you'll see the Lord, and he will chant the holy name of the Lord, and he will hear the glories of the Lord, Harikatha, right? And on understanding, on seeing his great devotion, Krishna has given even Sudarshan Chakra for his protection, right? So when um, uh, when one of the Muni, Durvasa Muni came uh, one day, it was a Dwadashi, next day of Ekadashi. So Durvasa Muni came, and then uh, he has to, in Ambarish Maharaj has to complete his fasting. So he just take a spoon of water, But Duras Muni got angry. You add the food without first offering it to the guest. So I will give you a shabam, you will be killed by demons, Rakshasa. He created a Rakshasa from his hair and throw it on the Ambarish Maharaj. But on seeing it, the Sudarshan Chakra got very angry. How can a demon can kill my devotee? Then Sudarshan Chakra killed the demon, and also it was chasing Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni went to Brahma Loka. Brahma said, I cannot do anything. You please go. And then he went to Kailasam. In Kailasam, Shivaperuman said, it is out of my jurisdiction. I cannot do anything. And then uh, uh, Durvasa Muni went to Vaikunta, and there Lakshmi Narayana said, you know, I am under the control of my devotees. He has such a devotional service to me, and he's such a Krishna conscious person. You know, you did aparadha to him. You go and surrender to him. Then he came back and then fell on the feet of Ambarish Maharaj, and then Ambarish Maharaj requested in the Sudarshan Chakra, to release him, and then they add, feast. So that's how, when we use all our senses in for the Krishna, right, it becomes a Krishna consciousness, right? And also Krishna is also called as Rishikesha, master of the senses. So if you see, great exalted devotees, their senses are always under the control of Krishna. So whatever things that they do, you know, you know, for spreading Krishna consciousness, everything, it will be always perfect, because Krishna takes control of their senses. That's why Krishna is called as Rishikesha. But when we use our senses for the satisfaction of Krishna, everything will fall in place. That is why Rishikesha Rishikena Bhakti Rushyate. When we use our senses to satisfy the senses of Krishna, that is called as Bhakti. That's how here the Acharyas explain, um, you know, connecting our soul with the Supreme Soul. Okay. Engage your senses in Krishna service. Okay. How to engage our bodily limbs. Okay. So this is the last shloka for this chapter. Anybody wants to read it?
I can try, Prabhuji.
Thank you, please. Evam buddhih param buddhva
Evam buddheh param buddhva
samstabhyatmanam atmana
samstavyatmanam atmana
jahi shatrum mahabaho
Jahi Shatrum Mahabaho
Kamarupam Durasadham.
Kama Rupam Durasadam. Thus, knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind and intelligence, O mighty armed Arjuna, one should steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence, Krishna consciousness, and thus, by spiritual strength, conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust.
Thank you, Mataji. So Krishna is concluding. See, Krishna just started with Karma Yoga, doing our duty without attachment, and he also mentioned offering it to the results to him, without any false sense of proprietorship, right? Without any desire, and those kind of thing. Now he is ending the Karma Yoga, stating that and he also said the ultimate root cause of everything is the lust. When we are lust, our knowledge is covered and we do not know what is right or wrong, and we may not be able to spend time to understand who we are, and then we'll waste our time and our life will get ruined. But on the other hand, when we control our lust through controlling the senses, right? Through practice of spiritual intelligence, through practice of Krishna consciousness, through practice of devotional service, everything will fall in place. Right? We don't need to do anything. Now, by being in Krishna consciousness, by having the spiritual intelligence, through Bhagavad Gita and through chanting and everything will fall in place. Everything will be able to control their mind and intelligence and senses. 50 years back, no, 60 years back, when Prabhupada came here, a lot of people, youngsters in the US, were all, they were not having any good directions. They were all, so there were many hippies at the time, but Prabhupada did not say anything. Some hippies will come to his classes, and Prabhupada just explained Bhagavad Gita, and he will offer them prasadam. Prasadam, he will cook for 50 people at the age of 70 years and give the prasadam, and he will ask them to chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Just by doing that, just by in contact with a sadhu like him, in association with a Vaishnava, plus just eating the prasadam, just by chanting, just by listening to Prabhupada's lectures and Bhagavad Gita as it is, they have totally changed. So our best, if that is the case, right? Our best for everyone, for the humankind is, to become spiritually consciousness, to increase our spiritual strength by chanting, by reading Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and by associating with the devotees. And we'll be able to conquer lust. And when we conquer the lust, and everything will be very clear. We know what needs to be done, what should not be done, and we know our goal. And and at the end of this life, we can go back home, go back to Godhead. And with that, let me stop this session. I will take 10 minutes to go over the story of Sri Andal. Does anyone have any questions, any comments, any thoughts from today's session as we are wrapping up?
Prabhuji,
Yes,
how
Mataji.
how to tell the difference between mind and intellect, manas and buddhi?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, so mind, mind wants anything, right? So sometimes, um, if I see a um, very luxurious car, my mind will say, "Hey, that's a very nice car. I should buy it." And then my intelligence say, I don't have capacity to buy it. You better skip that. Likewise, the mind sometimes um, will say, um, um, you know, um, I don't want to do these things. It is boring. I cannot do it. And the intelligence says, we have to do it. We have a timeline to do it. We cannot procrastinate it. Right? The intelligence is guiding the mind. If the intelligence is sharp, right, it will guide the mind. If the intelligence is not sharp, I won't do that work. I'll procrastinate. Right? Does it make sense?
Got it, Prabhuji. Thanks.
Right. So that is the reason Krishna says, you know, you want to study the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence. Krishna says in the 15th chapter, I believe, Vedaisya um, Avin, are you there? Okay. Vedaisya sarvair ahameva vedya Vedanta krit. Okay. Sarvasya chaham with Sarvasya chaham Ridhi Sannivishta. For every living entity, I am living in their heart. Sarvasya chaham Ridhi Sannivishta. Matta Smriti Jnanam Apohanam cha. Smriti means remembrance, Jnanam means knowledge, intelligence, and Apohana means forgetfulness. Krishna says that I give them. So when your spiritual intelligence is strong, right, right, we'll be able to take care, control our mind very nicely, and of course through chanting, um, everything, mind and intelligence will be sharpened, and mind will be controlled, and senses will be regulated. Any other questions? Any takeaways, Mataji's, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhuji, like when I joined late, of course. So
Okay.
you were talking about lust and how if we are fueling the lust only, it will only grow. We may
Yes.
just, yeah, we may just start it at a very small level, but as we fuel it, so it will definitely grows. It will definitely grow. Lust for any materialistic things. And like last week you spoke about materialistic things and selfishness and all that, so that also should come under the lust category. And then today you said that, after that shloka, that how the five indris should be, what you call, we need to overcome them in order to suppress the lust as far as possible. Yep. So, so that am I right on that?
Yeah, we have to control our
Control,
regulate our
yeah.
senses.
Hmm.
Regulate our senses.
Hmm, hmm,
Uh,
hmm.
that's when we don't regulate, when we keep feeding it, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
it
it will grow
only
and
grows.
grow.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, um, in the second chapter, we saw um, higher taste. Param drishtva nivartate, Krishna says. We have to provide higher taste. If
Yeah.
Prabhupada also explains, if somebody eats, all sorts of things, but if we keep giving them prasadam, that will purify their consciousness and intelligence and everything. And then, you know, it regulates their senses. So we have to give a higher taste.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Yeah, if somebody smokes 10 cigarettes a day, if you ask them to stop abruptly, they may not be able to start. If you regulate them, the senses, okay, hey, do it 8, and the next month you do it 7, next month do it 5, and then slowly, if they control it, they may be able to control their senses, in the course of time. So that's why Krishna says, regulate your senses. It's very important. That's why in Krishna consciousness, particularly in ISKCON, there are 4 regulatory principles. One is no meat eating, right? No intoxication, right? Whatever it is, and no gambling, and no illicit relationship. This everyone in ISKCON should have it. And this is not whatever Prabhupada explains, this is not his own things. These are all from the Shastras. In Srimad Bhagavatam, when Kali Purusha came at the end of the Dwapara Yuga, when the Kali Yuga started, and when Kali Purusha met Parikshit Maharaj was very angry. Why did he come? And Kali Purusha says, this is my time. We have 4 yugas. Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. I have to come. And Kali Purusha said, no, no, you don't come. And then Kali Purusha said, you give me some places where I can reside. And then Parikshit Maharaj said, okay, you first stay in those places. The Kalipurusha staying means Kalipurusha will give a lot of problems. Okay, that is why this Kali is it is normally said this Kali Yuga is terrible and horrible. And Parikshit Maharaj said, you stay in the places where there is a gambling happens. And you stay in the place where women are not treated well, where there is the illicit relationship and when women are not treated well. And you stay in the place where there is um, intoxication, and you stay in the place where animals are slaughtered. So these Gaudiya Vaishnava converted Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they said it, no gambling, no illicit relationship, no intoxication, and no meat eating. So when we do this, right, our senses automatically get in a control. And also when that is the other thing, the beautiful thing of our Sanatana Dharma is that we have a lot of Vratams, right? The Vyakadashi Vratam, there's a Shasti Vratam, Friday, Thursday Vratams, all those Vratams, we control our senses. So if you do that, it becomes very easy to control it. Hope that makes sense. Okay. Anything else? Kaushalji?
Same, Prabhuji, what you described just.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. I think Andal's story may take a little bit more time. I don't want to hold off you all. Maybe I will wrap up. We can continue from next week. Is it fine if we can have next week onwards? I know Saturdays, the kids will be at home and it is a summer. It's a spring and very nice weather. Like last year, do you mind if we can keep it on Thursday evenings? Will everybody able to attend?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Sure, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Okay, I
Yes.
will keep it on Thursday. And with this, we have completed 3 chapters. In a very detailed way. Just so that you can remember the gist of these 3 chapters very well, and we'll progress again. My plan is I'm doing different activities. I'm also doing a course, and so starting from June or July, I'll be taking more shlokas per classes, so that within the next 1 year we will complete this Bhagavad Gita fully. Hopefully with a good understanding. So I request everyone, to support this initiative, and I request everyone to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra as much as possible. And we will meet next week. Thank you very much. Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namah, Hari Om. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Guru Maharaj ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna, thank you.
So, Prabhuji, you'll send a link for Thursday. You'll send a reminder once.
Yes, Mataji, definitely.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you
Thursday
very
is good. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, thank you.